Patch 6.13 notes review. Started off, this is a pretty big Blitzcrank nerf. Rocket Grab now pulls enemies 75 units in front of Blitzcrank rather than directly on top of him. So, that's going to be the huge nerf. And I want to say that that's still enough range for him to knock people up. It's going to be kind of awkward though. I'm kind of glad for these changes. Blitzcrank has been consistently performing for years, so he's always been a known entity. The only time he's underperformed is when certain champions are in meta that do really well against him. Now this is targeted at support champions, the whole patches, but this is going to make Lulu a good mid laner again, increasing the base mana, giving her some movement speed. Glitterlance is 20% slow at all ranks now. No, the duration is now 2 seconds at all ranks. I don't know why I was thinking slow. And they just got like a little support Lulu buff on there, but I guarantee that this is only going to affect her mid lane. As far as support, she's going to be basically the same champion with a little bit of token attack speed thrown on there. That actually might make her more of a pocket pick for support. Against certain matchups, you might be picking Lulu again. Tahm Kench changes. I'm not going to touch too much on these, but suffice it to say that they reverted a bunch of the nerfs. And his thick skin no longer falls, his shield no longer falls off over the duration when you activate it. They basically took his passive damage on his ultimate and stuck it onto his passive, and they nerfed it a little bit, but that was in order to give him strength back on these other abilities here, so I think that was okay. Thresh changes are basically pointless to talk about. It's a small buff, if anything. I'm assuming this is a Zyra nerf. Yeah. She's like a little bit too strong. Seed spawn time, yeah, I can see why that would need some tweaking. 13 to 8.5 seconds down from 11 to 6.75. Fix the bug. Not a huge deal. I'm actually really happy about this though. I'm a Gnar player, so having Gnar be useful would be really nice. Return boomerang distance up to 3,000. That's really nice. But Hyper is actually a lot of damage. People will underestimate this buff probably. And they're giving him a little bit extra range on his mini Gnar. So basically the mini form is getting buffed up, and that'll increase the performance of Mega Gnar as well. Just not directly. Brillia ult cooldown is up by quite a bit. Hopefully this will bring her down in line. I'm not 100% sure that it will. They kind of need to hit her equilibrium strike, which is her E. They need to nerf her stun, slow, whatever you want to call it. So where it's not off cooldown every 5 seconds. It's pretty retarded the way that it is right now. I guess they wanted to hit her dueling potential without lowering or without increasing the cooldown of her basic spells, because that basically puts her out of competitive viability as soon as they do that. So if she's still a problem, they'll continue to nerf her. Jarvan increased teamfight value. This change is literally not going to do anything. Not at all. It just makes it so that thematically he lines up with Release Jarvan a little bit more. Except that he's not one-shotting people as regularly. For somebody who wants to lock as many opponents as possible into a cage deathmatch, Jarvan lacks the tankiness to survive in the fray he creates. So this is just going to make damage Jarvan more incentivized to go into the enemy team, because he's going to get like a little bit more health. And if you're in a 1v1, then you're going to get less shield. That's basically what this means. So you're rewarded more for nailing your W on multiple enemies. Which, this change might as well not even exist for all intents and purposes. This is pretty much gonna gut Kindred. Wolf's Frenzy no longer grants a heal. So, hopefully she'll still be good. I'm waiting to see what happens, to see if this nerf goes overboard, because I have a feeling that taking 7 armor is going to hurt her dueling really early on in the game, especially against champions like Lee Sin, who already have an easy time with her if they get going. Swain's ult cooldown is being increased. Initial lockout on recast, that is getting lowered. But yeah, I'm glad that they're making it 20-second cooldown. 10-second cooldown is a little overbearing for his play pattern. It's a good change. These are all bug fixes, so we're going to skip over that. That'll probably make her blade more. Because this kit is absolutely busted when it's working properly. Health regen down for Trundle, so instead of hitting his passive, they're hitting his base health regen, which is nice. He's going to perform probably about the same. A lot of lane matchups won't change because of this. Q doesn't accidentally drop Twitch into stealth instantly. So this is like another bug fix, but they're just trying to make it into an actual patch note, which these don't really belong here. Passive ratio reverted to pre-rework. Q base damage down, but ratio up. So these are some more tweaks to Vlad. The way that they changed his passive, it was making it so that his health build was doing a lot of damage. So I'm glad to see the passive ratio back to the way it was. And hopefully this will incentivize people to build more ability power without having all this tankiness and Spirit Visage, and like they're basically removing Spirit Visage from having so much ability power in his build. So like if you build Spirit Visage, you're just going to get the crazy amped healing. You're not going to also get a bunch of AP. I don't really know how I feel about this Volibear nerf. He's already kind of a niche champion, despite performing consistently well for a long time. When Volibear does well, it's more of a result of everyone else on the map not doing well, as opposed to him being good. So I don't really like them taking power away from him, but it's just only in the early game. He'll be the same champion post 6, or at least after a couple of ranks in his W, which is going to max that first anyway. Attack speed per stack, it's not really going to hurt very much. And again, it's just in the early game, so if you had any doubts on whether you should max W for Volibear, you definitely should. Tech was implemented for Weaver Small to help retain your pathing, and now that Tali's been out for a bit. were comfortable applying it to existing walls. In short, if you wanted to move towards a wall to flash over it or snipe someone, your character won't get really confused and try to walk back to base just to get to the other side. Okay, that's fine. Apparently they're changing that, and this piece of tech that was initially brought in for Talia to clean up her pathing when she's using her ultimate and stuff like that, so that you can flash over it easier, that kind of thing. They're rolling it out to all the walls in Summoner's Rift, so hopefully that won't introduce any new bugs. Support changes, and more support changes. We're going to skip all that. Two main reasons. I don't reliably have any idea what these changes are going to do, because I might have a good understanding of what this ancient coin change is going to do, but I don't know what the ancient coin change is going to do versus the relic shield change versus the spell thief change versus all the other item changes. So rather than spread misinformation and say something incorrect, we're just going to see how this plays out. Spells can no longer be cast during Protobelt's dash. That's good, that was a little imbalanced. Words now grant experience. Attacking them no longer puts you in combat. That's a pretty good change. Let's read about a little bit what they were saying. We generally like to keep strategic and combat gameplay distinct, but currently clearing wards can often feel too high risk and low reward. So this will make Moby boots better for supports again, especially since Swifties were nerfed. Leaving lane to place and clear wards contributes to some of the XP drain the supports face, although other champions than supports also feel it. Losing out of combat bonuses just to clear a ward can make it seem like clearing a ward is disproportionately harder than defending it. Oh, Cloud Drake as well. But not like that really matters. Cloud Drake sucks. Yada yada yada. Global experience pacing. So basically what this says is that their rubber band mechanic for catching up on the average level in the game, it kicks in too strong at a certain point and not quickly enough most of the time. So they're now able to tweak it down to half of a level. So like, let's say for instance it wouldn't trigger until you're 3 levels behind before. Now it'll trigger when you're 2.5 levels behind the curve. So this is like one of those systemic changes that you won't really notice, but it'll feel differently over the course of the next month, and I doubt it'll affect the meta at all. But the smaller changes like this eventually come around to affecting the game, even if it seems like it won't right away. If you can think about it in a theory crafting sense, like champions that fall behind early game are going to be better now because they're going to catch up sooner. And maybe champions that relied on snowballing, maybe they're not going to be as good because people will be able to catch up quicker. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of change with that as well. But yeah, so there's not a whole lot of change there. Just dead champions now gain experience from nearby kills. This is a new mechanic. This is basically whatever. It's just going to make it so people hit level 18 quicker. And then as a result of people being higher level, the catch-up experience for the other people is going to kick in quicker. So this is only going to affect like 1 to 10% of games anyway, so I wouldn't really worry about it. Early kills grant less experience, so this is to reduce the snowball that you currently get from killing your lane opponent. Or if you happen to kill 2 people or 3 people, then you just get this insurmountable experience advantage which with the rubber banding, it doesn't actually bring you back. So these are like different systems that all contribute to about nothing, except the early kill rewards experience nerf. This is going to be the biggest change. So again, champions that rely on snowballing, they may not be as good. Namely, champions that try to outlane you and then kill you. So look for small changes in the meta. Probably nothing too noticeable because once again, these are all systemic changes that you won't be able to feel. And maybe like after a month or two, you'll notice that certain things are better than another. That's just how the meta works. Channel time increased, clarity improvements for both allies and opponents. So basically, if you have vision in an area around where someone is teleporting, then it's going to be more telegraphed to everyone, which is really good. And the duration, the channel duration, is to make it easier to react to teleport plays where you can get away. But this still leaves the door open for competitive play. They'll still probably take teleport a lot. You'll still probably take it a lot in solo queue. It's not going to change very much. But since it has been nerfed, and it's still the top summoner spell for a lot of champions, then it definitely needed to be addressed again. Teleport now issues a soundless on my way ping at the target location. So they just kind of throw nice little quality of life stuff in with the nerf. Dragon and Rift Herald no longer level up during combat. Attack move works properly when used with move commands. Tier restrictions in Diamond and above now allow 3 divisions of separation between teammates instead of 2. Not bad. Decent patch. Very decent.